From the Law and Crime Trial Network, this is Brian Ross Investigates.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us, and welcome to our viewers on Facebook Live. I'm Brian Ross, joined as always tonight by Rhonda Schwartz from the Law and Crime Network. And Rhonda, we begin with a major development in a story we've been following closely for more than a year. New charges involving the Apostle, a man by the name of Nason Joaquin Garcia, and one of his handmaiden. He's accused of recruiting and running a huge sex trafficking ring involving young girls from his own church in Southern California. Rhonda?
That's right, Brian. Alondra Ocampo is one of his inner circle, a sort of handmaiden accused of helping him recruit teenagers for sex. In a major development, she has pled guilty to 4 felony counts related to child sex abuse, and we're told she will likely testify against him in his upcoming trial. It's a potentially huge setback for his upcoming criminal defense.
Prosecutors say the Apostle, for all his religious glory, has always had women in the church who helped to recruit and groom young girls in their teens for him to abuse and rape. Prosecutors say Alondra Ocampo was one of them. She was arrested with Garcia last year, and agents have testified extensively how young victims described Ocampo's role as one of the Apostle's handmaidens.
Ocampo requested that Jane Doe number 1 send her nude photos of herself because the servant of God, who is defendant Garcia, would be really happy if they sent pictures not wearing any clothes or something similar to that.
Agents testified that the young girls were recruited from the Light of the World churches in the Southern California area, including this one in East Los Angeles, always invoking the Apostle's status as Jesus on earth to get the girls to submit to his sexual whims.
Did Jane Doe 1 tell you whether defendant Ocampo suggested that Jane Doe 1 did not love God or the Apostle if she did not comply with that request?
That is correct.
Agents testified that Ocampo would take the young girls to Victoria's Secret stores to buy scanty lingerie for them to wear as she filmed them for the Apostle.
She was provided by Miss Ocampo, provided whipped cream, strawberries, lingerie, and the other girl, they would spray the whipped cream and strawberries on each other and lick them off. And she said that Miss Ocampo told her that the photos were for Mr. Garcia and that she would send them to him.
To get a better understanding of the import of all this, we're joined now by Xochitl Martin and her lawyer, Deborah Mulgrave. Xochitl, you were once in the orbit of the Apostle, and you understand fully what Miss Ocampo has been through.
Yes, I do.
And can you understand how she would be able to recruit other young girls?
I do. I do, because I believe she was brainwashed. I do believe that. I believe all the girls were, because I was. I lived it. Nobody told me. Nobody said, hey, I think this is happening, or I have a picture to show you. I lived it. My entire life, I lived it. So it's not a he said, she said.
Given her plea, what does that tell you about what she did for the Apostle?
The gravity of the harm that she committed against these girls are not something that she woke up one day and said that that's something she wanted to do. And this was all Nason's doing. And I'm happy. I'm happy she came forward. I'm happy she, you know, the truth shall set you free.
And from your experience, Garcia recruits women like this to recruit other women for him? That's what he asked you to do?
Exactly.
Let me ask your lawyer, Deborah Mulgrave, what do you think is the impact of this on the case against Nason Garcia?
Well, I think it's definitely a good sign and incredibly helpful. And I think the guilty plea in her statements just go to show that one of the co-conspirators of Nason Garcia believes that there's strong enough evidence out there to convince people beyond a reasonable doubt of the charges that have been alleged against them. And I believe that significance in that fact cannot be lost upon defendants or others that are out there who have been conspiring with Nason Garcia for these crimes.
As you know, Garcia's lawyers pointed a finger at your client, Xochitl Martin, when she first came forward, claiming in court papers that she was as responsible as he was. I assume they'll try to do the same thing with Ocampo.
And I assume so as well. And I think all that just goes to show you that how hard it is to resist being in Nason Garcia's orbit in terms of his grooming, his manipulation, his coercion on his part and others to silence those around him and to convince them and coerce them into helping with his own agenda and that of others in the organization committing crimes.
And Xochitl Martin, let me ask you, for many people, it's hard to understand why young people would go along with this. Why do they?
They go along with it because they think it's a blessing. They don't doubt that the servant of God is lying to them or that he's committing a crime against them. That's the last thing in your mind. You're not even allowed, your mind's not allowed to go there. So they do it because they think it's the right thing to do, and you're pleasing him, and it's a blessing. He would tell us you have a crown in the sky, and in that crown that Xochitl has, or Alondra has, or any other of these women, even the Jane Does, any crown that you have in the sky, every time you do something for me, you have a little pearl or a diamond that you're working for to get that pearl or diamond or that precious gem on that crown. So you're working for those blessings, for the afterlife, and someday hope that, everything that you did here on earth, God will repay you one day in heaven. That's all I can say.
And how do you feel now that the wheels of justice are continuing to turn towards a trial for the apostle?
I'm happy because I think that we can just expect good news, and we can expect this to keep moving forward, and the truth is there, and justice is there, and I think that there's just so much evil and there's so much harm that's been done for so many years that I think that it was time. It was time.
Well, Xochitl Martin and Deborah Mulgrave, thank you both for joining us this evening and continuing to give us insights into this strange world of the apostle.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
A spokesman for the Light of the World Church continues to insist the apostle is innocent of all the charges against him.